Hi, I'm Rose.
I'm Sebastian.
I'm Isaac.
I'm Nayeli.
I'm Valerie.
And I'm Jessica, and this is Small Group 1's presentation for our social interaction. So for some background information on the social interaction assignment itself, there's three main things that we had to get. We had to pick a virtual activity to do with the group. This could have been any activity, it just had to be virtual. And then next we had to decide on a date to meet. And then lastly, we had to meet on that set time and go along with the planned activity. For some information on like what you're gonna find on these slides, first you're gonna see some introductory, which is the background information on the activity that we chose and this assignment itself. Next, you're gonna find the methodology, which is how we decided on the activity, how we chose the game, and like what ways we used to like vote and everything. And then for findings and results, you're gonna find a description of the experience, just an overall description of what happened, what we did, what was said, what was like anything that was interesting about the activity. And then in discussion, you're gonna find the evidence of the experience. This could be pictures or screenshots of like the chat or anything that would prove that this experience actually happened. And then in the conclusion, you're gonna find a summarized report on the whole activity itself, just what we got out of it, like what came out of the activity, anything good, anything bad. Rose? So some background information on the game itself. The game is Among Us. And so how to play, step one, the players all join a server. It's a 10 server max. For step two, you have to find out if you're the crewmate or not. If you are a crewmate, you get a list of tasks to complete while you're on the spaceship. Step three, if you're the imposter, you get the job to kill the entire group. You have to assassinate each person without getting caught or anything. For step four, we all have to vote off the other players if we think they can be the imposter. You can vote someone off if you like actually see them kill someone, or if you just have like a suspicion, or if you anything. For step five, we have to discuss who the imposter is on the emergency meetings. We can just discuss what we saw, when you last saw a person, or anything that would lead to finding out who the imposter is.
So I'm going to be explaining a little bit of the methodology. That's basically the what, when, where, and how we actually came about doing this activity for this assignment. So the first three steps were a little bit harder. Step one was getting together on the spot and quickly discussing the assignment. So once we actually really dove into the assignment, we knew that we would have to kind of get together quickly in order to get the activity that we wanted to do. Our first option was actually a movie night. However, by the time we decided that, another group had already taken that activity. And then we kind of just realized that we didn't want that too much anyways, just because it would not involve too much communicating. So we decided to actually choose a video game night, which actually leads to step two, which was actually figuring out the video game we all wanted to go like engage in. So some of our options were Uno, Crazy 8, which is like a virtual version of Uno, Minecraft, Dead by Daylight, and Among Us. We eventually would choose Among Us because it was affordable, it was something we can all access, it was something that didn't need any prior knowledge to actually engage in the actual game. After that came figuring out our form of communication for the activity. So we wanted to be able to talk to each other while playing the game, but because we're in the middle of a pandemic, we thought meeting up wouldn't be exactly the best bet for us. So we actually chose to FaceTime each other while playing the game. And that way we'd be able to talk about the game or just talk to each other and chit chat while playing the game. So the easier part was actually step 4 and step 5. Step 4 was setting a date. Setting a date was actually surprisingly easy considering our vastly different schedules. A lot of us just have a lot going on, from school to work to just small appointments that we have to run. However, we actually came to choose March 2nd. Monday actually at 6:30. It worked for us so well, in fact, that we actually ended up incorporating it into our weekly group meetings because it really did fit everybody well, and it was a little bit later so we could all actually be there, and we just decided to keep it in the mix. But step 5 was actually the easiest, and personally, I think the funnest part of it all, which was engaging with our group and participating in the activity. We all, even though we had a little bit of technical difficulties, we really were able to play the game and just overall have fun and actually get to know each other a little bit more than I think we would have had we not had the activity.
So I worked on findings and results, which was basically our experience during the activity. And we communicated through both FaceTime and through game chat. FaceTime ended up being a little bit more difficult for everybody to try to connect. So game chat ended up being the easiest way for us to all communicate. And we used game chat to try to share the location of where the body was found or about who we thought the imposter was. Players would vote for whoever they believed is the imposter, and this could either be based off their judgment or based off of what others were saying. Accused players would try to convince crewmates of their innocence, regardless if they were the imposter or not, because their goal would be to try to make it as far as they can into the game. Rose? Crewmates use tactics against the imposter to try to survive and win. These tactics would be gathering up together towards the end so they could eliminate who the imposter was. Crewmates would use teamwork to finish their tasks and stay together. Ultimately, that's how the crewmates won almost every round, by doing their tasks and just making sure that everybody was alive. Players could use the buddy system to help prove their innocence as well. They could use the buddy system by looking at other teammates and making sure that they were working on their tasks. This is a game of teamwork and betrayal. Players are either crewmates or an imposter. Oftentimes, the imposter would lie about if they were a crewmate or not, and they would try to play along as if they were the crewmate by faking their tasks and just walking around.
So while doing the social interaction, we did come across some challenges that were spoken about earlier, but we had some scheduling issues. Some people had work, also had other things such as appointments and other life things that got in the way of finding a good time for us to get together. So that was hard to find times when everyone was available and able to meet up to do this social interaction. We also experienced some technical issues. People had difficulty getting onto the FaceTime call, or had like bad Wi-Fi signal, or a difficulty getting into the lobby for the game. So we had to overcome the different technical issues and try to work it out. And there was also a lack of communication at the beginning of our group. We weren't communicating as much as we are now, and we just didn't know how to reach out to one another, what methods of communication worked best, and we weren't comfortable at that level yet. So now we actually have regular meeting times. We have Monday at 6:30, which was when this meeting was, and it worked out so great that we were like, let's just do this every week. And so far we have. We also have practiced using FaceTime and iMessage and even Zoom to do the meeting. So now technical issues aren't as frequent or at all happening because we have worked through them and worked out how to use those different things. iMessage and FaceTime work the best for our group because we all have iPhones, and so those are easy access to all of us. And now we are more comfortable with each other, and we know what methods of communication everyone prefers, different schedules, and we can now all talk to one another and communicate, which is great in this communication class. Here we have images of the meeting that night. As you can see in the first image, we were having technical difficulties. We couldn't see each other at first. In the FaceTime call, it was just a bunch of error symbols. But eventually we were able to see each other. We could see the photo of some of the meeting mates in the photo right there. Not everyone is in that photo because there was still some technical difficulties, but Valerie came up with the creative solution of checking to see if we could use the Among Us in-game group chat. So I want to shout out to Valerie coming up for that creative solution of using that in-game chat to make sure everyone was able to communicate so that we were able to play together. So together, we really became a team during the social interaction. We learned how to communicate with one another. And even though this group, we didn't pick it, we are really becoming friends, which is truly great because it could have gone either way, but we found that we have a lot of things in common. As you do in communicating in a communications class, we are all looking forward to getting to learn more about each other and perhaps becoming true friends after this class ends. And yes, I want to shout out Sebastian, Valerie, and myself for coming up with creative solutions to make sure that everyone was able to participate in the meeting and get on and do this assignment.
In the discussion, we talk about everything from our fun moments during the activity to our struggles accomplishing the task. There were a lot of good moments during the activity with the group, which I do think was a stepping stone in getting to know everyone. We did have a good time, although we did face struggles, but we overcame them, which was part of getting to know one another. One of the biggest accomplishments with this assignment was being able to work together as a group and complete all the obstacles we faced. The main struggles we had was the schedules interfering and also the connection, which was because of some having limited Wi-Fi or where they were at. The game we played helped us bond by communicating with each other as well as having fun playing as a group. And all this assignment made us become closer as a whole group and helped us communicate with each other. From now on, with our struggles, we can work together, fixing them as a group. Moving forward, I believe we will continue to improve together.
Overall, throughout the time we have met up through FaceTime and spoken through text, our communication has increased. It used to be just one text here and there, but as now we tend to text more often than usual and keep in touch with one another when we have questions regarding homework assignments and so on. For example, when we get certain assignments for our communication class, we ask one another when we have a hard time completing a certain task. These past group activities have helped one another come out of our shell a bit to try and communicate with people whom we haven't met yet, asking each other questions of what each one is thinking, as well as learning a bit more of one another to figure out each other's different perspectives when it comes to debating certain situations, as voting when meetings and activities take place. These past group activities, such as when we played Among Us, have helped with communicating through a game which we might think is not such a big deal, but in reality it is. In the game, you have to communicate and listen to one another, so it helps with speaking and listening. Overall, I believe that we can count on each other for help within class questions and are more comfortable with one another. Truthfully, we can all say that friendships are or will be made by the end of the semester.
Great job. All right.